There is a strange magnetism in the way certain older men speak that makes younger women listen with an intensity that borders on obsession. It is not about having the perfect jawline or a bank account that drips with wealth. It is about conversation, how words are used to carve an image of depth, certainty, and mystery that younger women cannot stop thinking about. Most men waste this chance. They talk about boring routines, safe stories, or surface-level details that vanish from a woman's mind the moment the conversation ends. But a man who knows how to control his words, a man who can pull her into ideas that mix intellect with desire, suddenly becomes unforgettable. Younger women crave not just fun, but also a sense of guidance, stability, and emotional danger all at once. That balance is what creates tension so powerful that it lingers even when he is no longer in the room. In this script, we will step into the psychology of attraction hidden within conversation itself, uncovering how older men can shape words into something that builds irresistible interest. The question is, are you ready to understand how? A key element in maintaining interest is the ability to ask questions that provoke thought without appearing intrusive. When a man frames his curiosity around ideas, dreams, and perspectives, it subtly signals that he values the woman's mind as much as her presence. This approach creates a sense of importance and intellectual connection, which is far more compelling than superficial compliments. Research in behavioral psychology highlights that people respond strongly to validation of their unique viewpoints, especially when it comes from someone who exudes confidence and life experience. By exploring topics like personal growth, ambitions, or even ethical dilemmas, the man invites deeper conversation while maintaining an air of mystery. Another psychological factor is controlled vulnerability. Sharing past mistakes or fears in moderation shows authenticity and self-awareness. It demonstrates that the man has faced challenges, learned from them, and carries wisdom without arrogance. This combination of confidence and humility can be intoxicating because it breaks the stereotype of the emotionally detached older man and instead presents a figure who is grounded yet stimulating. Humor also plays a subtle but powerful role. Light, intelligent humor that resonates with her perspective creates moments of shared joy, establishing emotional intimacy without crossing boundaries. When stories are punctuated with these moments, they linger in memory, making interactions feel dynamic and alive. Timing and pacing of conversation are equally crucial. A deliberate pause after a thoughtful statement, a gentle change in tone, or a measured smile can amplify impact for more than words alone. These small cues engage the subconscious, signaling interest, awareness, and attentiveness. Studies in neuroscience show that the brain picks up on these cues even before fully processing the verbal content, making the interaction feel more intense and memorable. A man who masters this balance becomes an anchor of presence, someone whose energy lingers long after the interaction ends. He does not dominate or control the conversation but instead guides it through subtle influence, making each exchange feel significant. This method works especially well with younger women because it provides a sense of stability and intrigue simultaneously. They sense that they are interacting with someone who has depth, who has navigated life's complexities, and who can engage them intellectually and emotionally. Over time, this consistent pattern of communication builds a psychological imprint, where his presence evokes curiosity, admiration, and desire. By understanding and applying these principles, the older man leverages natural human psychology to sustain attention and interest, proving that charisma and connection stem from mindful conversation rather than superficial displays or manipulation. Another powerful element in keeping a younger woman interested is the strategic use of storytelling. Humans are naturally drawn to stories because they engage emotions, imagination, and memory simultaneously. When a man shares experiences from his life, adventures, challenges, or moments of insight, he creates a vivid mental image that captures attention. The key is to avoid boasting. Instead, he should focus on lessons learned or unusual perspectives that spark curiosity. This approach signals that he has depth, a life rich with experience, and wisdom that cannot be rushed or imitated. A related factor is listening actively. Many conversations fail because people focus solely on what they want to say. By genuinely paying attention, responding thoughtfully, and remembering details from previous interactions, a man communicates respect and interest. This attentive behavior triggers positive psychological responses, reinforcing her engagement and creating a subtle emotional bond. Another subtle but potent tactic is the controlled reveal of personal tastes and preferences. Whether it is music, literature, or hobbies, sharing aspects of one's personality that are unique or unexpected builds intrigue. It demonstrates individuality, signaling that he is not conforming to trends but instead maintains a distinctive identity. Research in social psychology confirms that uniqueness combined with approachability increases perceived attractiveness. Physical presence also matters, even without overt flirtation. Posture, eye contact, and gestures can communicate confidence and attentiveness, which are often more impactful than words alone. For instance, leaning slightly forward while listening or maintaining steady, calm eye contact can make a woman feel noticed and valued, activating subtle attraction cues in her subconscious. Humor and light teasing continue to enhance engagement, but with a sophisticated approach that avoids vulgarity or aggression. When done well, it triggers dopamine release, creating moments of pleasure associated with his presence. Emotional contrast is another element to consider. Displaying moments of thoughtful seriousness interspersed with warmth or humor keeps interactions dynamic. The brain reacts strongly to contrast, which makes encounters more memorable and stimulating. Timing plays a role here as well. Knowing when to pause, when to share, and when to listen ensures that interactions feel natural rather than forced. Over repeated encounters, these patterns create anticipation. The woman begins to look forward to conversations because they are mentally and emotionally rewarding, not because of superficial charm. By integrating storytelling, active listening, unique self-expression, physical presence cues, and emotional contrast, an older man crafts interactions that resonate on multiple psychological levels. He becomes someone whose attention is valued, whose perspective intrigues, and whose presence subtly reinforces desire and admiration. This method emphasizes authenticity and mindful engagement over manipulation, showing that depth, experience, and emotional intelligence are far more influential than superficial displays of wealth, status, or forceful charm. Confidence remains a core factor in sustaining a younger woman's interest, but it is the type of confidence that matters. It is not loud or boastful, but calm, self-assured, and grounded in experience. Women, especially younger ones, can sense insecurity even when it is masked by arrogance. A man who moves and speaks with quiet certainty signals reliability and maturity, which subconsciously creates attraction. Equally important is intellectual engagement. Discussing ideas, concepts, or current events with clarity and curiosity shows that he is mentally active and aware of the world. This type of conversation stimulates cognitive engagement, making interactions feel rich and meaningful. It also signals that he can navigate complex situations, a trait that many find subtly appealing. Emotional self-regulation is another overlooked aspect. Demonstrating the ability to stay composed in challenging or unexpected situations communicates stability. When a man handles stress or disagreement calmly, it subconsciously signals to the woman that he is capable and trustworthy. Storytelling, humor, and conversation skills are amplified when coupled with emotional intelligence. Recognizing cues in tone, expression, or body language allows the man to adapt his approach naturally, keeping interactions smooth and responsive. Additionally, displaying selective vulnerability strengthens connection. Sharing past struggles or lessons learned in a controlled, thoughtful way communicates authenticity without overwhelming the listener. It shows humanity and depth while still maintaining the aura of strength and competence. Another subtle but critical aspect is boundary setting. Demonstrating that he does not yield to every demand or trend, and that he maintains personal standards, communicates self-respect and independence. Research in behavioral psychology confirms that individuals who exhibit clear boundaries are often perceived as more attractive because they signal internal strength. Complementing these traits, the careful use of social proof, without overt bragging, can enhance perceived status and intrigue. Mentioning experiences with other cultures, professional achievements, or moments of meaningful impact paints a picture of a life well lived, which can spark admiration and desire. Nonverbal cues continue to play a role. A steady, confident posture, measured gestures, and intentional movement communicate presence and authority. Tone of voice also contributes significantly. Speaking with clarity, variation, and calm assurance increases engagement and emotional resonance. Small acts of thoughtfulness, like remembering details from prior conversations, create subtle psychological reinforcement, making her feel valued and understood. Over time, these layers of intellectual stimulation, emotional stability, confident presence, selective vulnerability, and mindful social signaling create a powerful magnetic effect. The woman begins to associate his presence with safety, interest, and mental stimulation. She becomes mentally and emotionally engaged, responding naturally to his behavior without needing direct manipulation. This combination demonstrates that the most compelling form of attraction is layered and nuanced. It arises not from fleeting charm or superficial tactics but from a carefully balanced mix of confidence, intelligence, emotional control, and authenticity. By consistently embodying these traits, an older man can maintain a younger woman's interest through meaningful, engaging, and psychologically resonant interactions. Ultimately, the ability to maintain interest with a younger woman relies on consistency and subtlety. It is not about flashy gestures or constant attention, but about creating an environment where she feels mentally stimulated, emotionally safe, and genuinely intrigued. Maintaining curiosity about her thoughts, dreams, and perspectives signals respect and openness, which strengthens connection. At the same time, the man's own life should remain full and engaging. Pursuing hobbies, interests, and goals demonstrates independence and depth. This balance creates a natural tension that draws her in without force. Psychological studies show that intermittent reinforcement, showing interest, then giving space, enhances attraction because the brain releases dopamine when it anticipates positive interaction. A man who can create moments of intrigue, humor, and thoughtful engagement without overexposure subtly activates this effect. Body language and presence remain crucial. A calm demeanor, confident stance, and intentional eye contact communicate interest and attention without needing words. Using voice modulation thoughtfully, slowing down at key points, emphasizing certain ideas, can create an emotional rhythm that holds attention. Humor, when intelligent and contextually appropriate, breaks tension and fosters a sense of shared understanding, deepening psychological connection. Listening actively, reflecting back her ideas, and asking thought-provoking questions stimulate both cognitive and emotional engagement. This demonstrates empathy, intelligence, and genuine interest, which together form a compelling combination. Importantly, boundaries and self-respect must remain intact. A man who allows himself to be needed, rather than constantly giving or accommodating, creates a subtle power dynamic that encourages pursuit without manipulation. The art of selective sharing, revealing parts of his life, thoughts, or experiences incrementally, maintains mystery while fostering trust. Socially, maintaining an active, interesting life beyond the relationship reinforces status and desirability. A woman naturally becomes invested in someone whose presence adds value, depth, and excitement to her life. By blending confidence, emotional stability, intellectual engagement, selective vulnerability, and thoughtful social signaling, an older man crafts an irresistible psychological profile. She begins to think about him outside of direct interactions, remembering his words, appreciating his behavior, and anticipating future encounters. In essence, the most powerful influence is not overt control or manipulation, but consistent, authentic, and psychologically attuned behavior. The woman does not need to be convinced, she is drawn by the layered combination of traits, presence, and subtle influence. Each interaction reinforces attraction, curiosity, and emotional resonance. This method relies on patience, observation, and mindfulness. A man who masters this approach does not need to chase, coerce, or perform. His natural presence, intelligence, emotional regulation, and authenticity create an ongoing psychological pull. This is the essence of magnetic influence, a quiet, powerful force that keeps a younger woman genuinely interested, engaged, and emotionally invested over time. Consistency, subtlety, and genuine engagement remain the key pillars, producing deep, lasting attraction that flows from respect, curiosity, and the natural chemistry of layered psychological resonance.